we normal human beings, we're watching bike racing and we see these enormous crashes that happen at incredibly high speed. And we're convinced, I mean, my wife has to go into another room before she can watch. But you've had quite a few crashes. I mean, how do they affect you? You had your first big crash at Cadwell Park, didn't you? What happened there?
I've had a few over the years, but the most serious one was at Cadwell Park. I broke my femur, which is your thigh bone, in 3 places, and unfortunately it was on a test day, so there was no medical assistance there, so I had to wait 45 minutes for the air ambulance to come.
Yeah.
It was just a bit disturbing because when I landed, my leg was pointing over my shoulder, and I don't do yoga, so... I want to know, how does it feel behind those eyes of blue? You made your mistakes, but now your heart aches behind those eyes of blue.
This is Park Ford Coachworks. It's my dad's business, a business he's spent many years building. My challenge is, how do we take this body shop into the next 20 years? How do we go to the next level? How do I do it? How do we do it?
Chris, what's it like working in the business with your daughter?
At times difficult, because I can't treat her in the same way as I would treat a regular employee. I think that I have to make concessions that I might not otherwise make and give her more freedom than I might otherwise do.
But wouldn't you or the rest of your staff expect you to treat her as the same?
Yes, they would, and they do accept it totally.
What sort of conflicts does it bring by working with your daughter in the business?
I would say, David, that we don't have any conflicts within the business. I think we're remarkably well suited to working together, although she would have different views on how we should take the business forward.
That's an interesting one. Different views. Now, you've been in the business a long time.
Yes.
Your daughter pops up and says, hi, let's work together.
Yes.
How easy is it for you to listen, accept, agree, discuss new views?
I would say, David, it's very difficult because I've been, as you say, here a long time, and I would always feel that my experience is worth perhaps more than she would, but she would have the energy to push forward with new ideas where I might feel tired at times.
Okay. What are the areas that you have of, let's say, different views? Not necessarily conflict, but different views. Where do you differ?
Probably in modern systems, and particularly IT.
Right. What, computers per se, or what?
No, greatly sold on computers, but I think that I write things down and she doesn't. She types messages and emails and I tend to leave people notes. That's a typical example.
Okay. What about the way the business should run in the future? Do you agree or disagree with the future direction of the company?
I agree that it should become more IT dependent, and that we should have better systems all round. So I have no issue with that at all. It's just hard for me at times to change a 30-year habit.
Would you accept that it may be good to change?
Absolutely.
So why do you find it so difficult?
Although it's good to change, I might not always have the appetite to see a change through. Realistically, at my age, I don't have another 20 years to work in this business. So it's always better to take ownership of a situation and follow it through. If you can't see the end, it's sometimes difficult to pick it up.
And insurance isn't usually one for seismic shifts, but in the relatively unexciting and non-dynamic world of insurance, this is getting us excited. Aren't you glad you're not an insurer? And it's basically these guys, Confused.com, CheaperCovered.com, Uswitch, Money Supermarket. And what's happened here is that all of us insurers and affinities have put our products onto these internet sites. You go on, you put your details in once and it whizzes off and does all the work for you and comes back with a list of insurers. And what we've essentially done is open up our box of pricing and made it a highly competitive market. It's now a commodity. You actually have to question whether it's worth investing in brand these days because it's just become a commodity like any other commodity. Some of the brand leaders are actually pulling off aggregators. Norwich Union has just come off all the aggregator sites because they realised what they're doing actually was negating all their brand spend by being on the aggregators. Super competitive market. It's almost a perfect market. It's almost like the stock market. The visibility and everything of the products is so complete that it's almost a perfect market. And people are having to sell on these aggregator sites at negative commission. So what happens is I manufacture a policy and I give it to an intermediary. They add on their commission and they sell it to the public. That's perfect world. Unfortunately, such as the competition out there at the moment, is I sell my policy to the intermediary is taking no commission or even a negative commission just to get at the top of the list, and then hoping that they can produce income in other ways whilst they've got that customer on board. So they're looking at lifetime value of the customer much more than they used to. And this whole behaviour has led to suddenly the whole claims angle of things has become an income opportunity for intermediaries. And they're getting involved in claims more. They are getting referral fees from credit hirers, from repairers, from all sorts of people. And that's adding cost into the market. No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that's what's happening. It does break up the customer journey because there are now too many people involved in the claims customer journey. And it does increase cost and frequency. These are the things you have to be understanding about what's going on in our market at the moment.
I actually go out to the suppliers, I go out to my customers, and maybe go in with a presentation, show them what I'm doing in my business to move things forward, ask them what they want, and put the needs and wants of both companies so we can work together. I find this really useful. I think, as you said, grow up is the right thing to do. I think all the big groups that you see now, 7, 8, 9, 10 shops, that's the sort of things they're doing. They're looking into the supply chain.
Exactly. I think you've just sort of exposed the limitations of a contract. I describe it as a platform. It's a place to start. The relationship that we have and how we build on that, I think, is the important thing, and that's the bit that really makes businesses fly.
So Dane, are we saying we're actually using the wrong word?
Yes. It's not a contract.
Right. Rob, what's your view on this?
It's an agreement. By and large, it's a service level agreement. And I fully understand why the industry has got itself where it is, because let's face it, it's a very uneven partnership that we have. We've got all the money, and you want the money. So I think in the past you have tended to be guided into very naive agreements with your... thank you, Chris, for describing me as a work provider. I will never forgive you. With your customers. That I, for one, stood in front of the market 2.5 years ago, and in fact I actually directly stood in front of 1,500 of you who turned up to events that we ran to promote the new solution centres, and I actually said I was prepared to sign a 5-year binding contract with anybody who applied to be a solution centre and asked for one, and not one of you asked for one. Not one of you. I would love to sign a 5-year contract with a supplier.
Okay, so Dane, should we, as an industry, rethink the word contract on the basis of what you've heard today?
It would appear so.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because, and I take your point, Rob, you said, you've got the money, they want it. They've got the repair capability, you want it.
Yeah, but I can get it anyway. There's a lot of you. That's the problem in the market.
Okay.
And you really need to be coming to your customers and saying, I will give you, in return for helping you with some of the problems that I've discussed, this, but I want some certainty from you. I mean, I know that Chris and Georgina are thinking about expanding their site. They cannot go to a bank manager and loan money on the basis of the agreements they've got with their customers at the moment. They're going to have some contracts that they can leverage against debt. And until they start doing that, they're really not going to be, thought of by their bank manager, particularly in the current banking crisis, as a credible risk.
So you're saying that actually agreements aren't good enough?
No, they're not.
So what do we do?
Ask for a contract.
But ask for a contract that suits both parties.
Yeah. Get grown up. Get a lawyer. Good heavens.
I have one with me, Rob.